Dark screen, faint static hum. A phone screen flickers to life. One word in bold black letters on white. Hide. Whispers. A rumble. Then silence. A voice. Narrator or AJ's inner thought. If we'd ignored that word, we'd all be dead. The screen goes black again. AJ wakes up in a panic, heart racing, eyes darting around the room. He's in his bed in the hotel room. Beside him, a topless woman sleeps soundly. Her blonde hair fanned out around her like a halo. He checks his phone. No new messages. He throws the covers off and gets to work checking the room, moving the furniture, tearing up the carpet, looking for the safe. The hidden safe that wasn't there last night. The woman stirs beside him. AJ freezes, his eyes wide with fear. She wakes up slowly, blinking at the ceiling. Thank God she didn't see me, he thinks, as he slips out of bed and continues his frantic search. I stared with confusion at my phone. The rest of the gang was immersed in our Monopoly game. Evelyn glared at me playfully. If you land on free parking, I'll be upset. Ravi rolled his eyes. Come on, sweet baby Jesus, give me a 4. He groaned. On my screen, one word appeared. Hide. I looked up from my phone and saw a man in a purple jacket rummage through his bag and pull out a deck of cards. He shuffled them quickly, almost frantically, and laid them on the table. Whoever gets this card, I'll give them $50. My eyes widened. Was this a setup? I glanced at the other players, all of them with their backs to me, focused on their boards. I knew what I had to do. I lunged for the pile of cards and grabbed the top one without looking. Got any? I asked hopefully. The man in the purple jacket nodded. Good job, kiddo. He handed over $50 and I couldn't help but smile. I knew I had made the right decision. Hide. I tapped the screen, no response. Evelyn scolded me for being distracted. The dice rolled, pieces moved. My phone stayed frozen. A tremor rattled the apartment. The TV died, then flickered back to life with static. On Hero's phone, then Evelyn's, the same word appeared. Hide. I tried to call 911, but the line was dead. I tried to send a text, but my fingers hovered over the keyboard, unsure what to do. Should I run? Where should I hide? The clock ticked. Seconds turned into minutes. Then I heard it again, a knock, but not just any knock. This time it sounded like someone was trying to break in. I peeked through the blinds. 2 men in dark suits stood outside our door, their faces grim. One of them pulled out a gun and fired a shot into the air. They were here for us. I knew they wouldn't leave until we were dead. We stepped onto the balcony. Other apartments glowed with the same message. On phones, laptops, televisions, everywhere. Below, people stood frozen in the streets, staring at screens. Should we, hide? Evelyn whispered. I didn't answer. What was happening? Was this part of the plan? The message on the screen was supposed to be a distraction, a way to buy time for the real attack to begin. But it was also possible that this was the attack. Maybe the whole city was being attacked. I pulled Evelyn close. I don't know, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. But we need to get out of here. She nodded, understanding the urgency in my voice. We crept along the balcony, trying to make as little noise as possible. The apartment door was locked, but I had a key. We slipped inside and bolted the door behind us. As we made our way through the dark apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Back inside, Evelyn scouted the apartment. She slid into the closet. I don't care if I look foolish. Join me. Awkward silence. Then Hero followed. Reluctantly, I crawled in after him. We all huddled together in the darkness as we heard the sounds of the raid outside. Gunfire echoed through the apartment. Was that it? Was this the end? Then we heard voices. They were coming closer. Open up! We know you're in there! My heart pounded in my chest. I could feel the vibrations of their footsteps on the floor above me. Suddenly, the closet door swung open and a bright light blinded me. I looked up to see a man in a black tactical vest standing over me. Got you. He reached out and grabbed my arm. pulling me out of the closet and into the light. "Let's go." "Wait, what? Where are we going?" I looked back at the closet to see Ravi and Hero staring at me with wide eyes. They were still in the dark. We sat pressed together on the couch, listening to the faint tick of the clock. At first, the jokes about camping eased the tension, but as the minutes dragged on, our unease grew. Ravi's phone still read, "Hide." My phone was on silent, but I could hear the vibrations of his incoming calls. Then, knocking. A muffled voice called out, "Ravi, you there?" It sounded like Monica. Or was it? We froze. The knocking stopped. Maybe it was just the wind. We let out a breath we didn't realize we were holding. Just then, another knock. And when I say another knock, I mean a loud, aggressive knock, like someone was trying to break down the door. I grabbed Ravi's hand. He was shaking. His eyes were wide with fear. This wasn't the gentle tap of someone who was lost and needed help. This was a desperate, let me in kind of knock. A story in 60 seconds. It started like any other day, ordinary and full of potential. Then suddenly, silence. No knocking, no clock. The world held its breath. I felt something press against the closet door. It wasn't a draft. It was a presence. I stood still, listening. Static stung my ears. Then it passed. I checked my phone. The message was gone. I walked into the closet and found this dress. It was beautiful, but not for me. I didn't recognize the style. It was too big. And yet, there was something familiar about it. Like I'd seen it somewhere before. Then I remembered. This was the dress my mother wore the night she disappeared. I put it on. The dress was itchy. It smelled like mothballs and regret. I pulled at the zipper. It caught on my skin. And then I saw it. My reflection stared back at me from the mirror. But it wasn't my face. It was my mother's face. She looked scared. Her eyes were wide with fear. The door opened. The apartment looked normal. But when I peered through the peephole, I froze. You looked too. Monica's body was dead. My phone buzzed. Another message from an unknown number. This one read, "Again." The TV in the living room echoed the word as I stared at it in horror. Was this meant to be a warning? A warning for what? I turned to find Monica's lifeless eyes staring back at me. Her skin was pale, almost white. And then I noticed the blood. It was coming from her nose, and it was dripping down her chin. My heart raced as I stumbled back, tripping over my own feet in the process. I hit the floor hard, the breath knocked out of me. As I lay there catching my breath, I saw the shadow looming over me. It was tall and dark, and it was definitely human. That was the scariest thing I've ever seen. We were playing hide and seek with my sister and her boyfriend, Hero and Evelyn. They hid under the bed. Ravi hid in the laundry closet. I was in the utility closet. The door wouldn't latch, so I held it shut. And then that presence came back. It tugged at the door, and then it just stopped. Silence. And then the word vanished from our phones. We all got so scared that we started screaming and making tons of noise. And then eventually it went away. But then when I looked at my phone, this is what I saw. This is what they had written. "You guys are really lucky. You survived the presence. It only takes 1 to 3 people to bring it back. And you guys were making too much noise, so it left." We regrouped. My phone now read, "Break time." Relief turned to paranoia. Arguments flared, accusations, distrust. Ravi grabbed a knife, but Evelyn showed her phone. The words again, "Break time." "It's breaking us," she whispered. We dropped the anger, ashamed. It was our code word for a reason. No one else knew it. Only we two. And now this stranger had it too. How did she get it? Did she hack into our system? Was that how she knew our passwords, our private information? The author of the book we were reading, Break Time, stood up. She had a confused expression on her face. "What's going on here?" she asked. We looked at each other, then at the phones in our hands. The 3 of us stood there in silence for a long time. Finally, I spoke. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Of course," she replied. "How do you know our secret code?" The calm didn't last. TV news showed carnage, then shattered to reveal a new word: seek. Our devices cracked, broken. Panic. We searched for a working screen, tearing through the apartment. I found one under the bed, an old CRT TV. It was huge and heavy, but we got it out just as the power went out again. The screen flickered with static, but it had a signal. We huddled around the set, turning the volume up as the broadcast crackled to life. It was a woman. She was running. Something about the way she moved, the way she looked. It was familiar. Then she turned her head, and our eyes met. I knew that face. It was my face. I'm trapped in a time loop. Every day I wake up in a new place. My memories are gone. All I have is this burning need to find a way out before time runs out.
So we're playing Monopoly and I landed on Go. Collect $200. Easy money. But under the cash, we found Ravi's phone. It read, "Smile." We forced grins through tears. The word vanished. Relief was short-lived. The next message appeared, "Point to sacrifice. It's a mystery game show. I'm trapped in a room with my friends, and we have to solve puzzles to escape before time runs out. If you don't know..."
We found a dead body in the first episode, and then we had to cut it up and feed it to alligators. It was a wild ride. I've watched every episode of this show, and I think I know what's going to happen next. Let me know if you agree. This is the most terrifying game I've ever played. The rules are simple. A countdown ticked on the screen. One by one, we had to point at ourselves. If the timer hit 0, nothing would happen. But if we made it to 3, we'd all get a spanking. That's what the red light means. And you don't want to see the blue light. That means you're out of the game. There were 5 of us in total. 5 minutes into the game, only 4 people remained. I was starting to freak out a little bit. I didn't want to point at myself. I wanted to point at the person next to me, but I couldn't risk it. So I closed my eyes and I waited. One by one, they opened their eyes and pointed at themselves. I hesitated. Then I forced myself to open my eyes and I pointed at Monica. We both looked at the screen. The timer hit 0. Nothing happened. We all let out a breath we didn't know we were holding, and that's when the blue light flashed. The night before, Ravi's phone had lit up. Good game. Just like that, everything was normal. We drifted back to the Monopoly board, exhausted. I rolled the dice. Landed on Short Line Railroad. "Buy it?" Evelyn asked. After a long pause, I nodded. "Sure." The game continued like this for a while, no one saying a word. We were all just too tired to care about the game. And then, just like that, the phone lit up again. This time it said, "Who's ready to play another round?" I looked at my friends. They were smiling from ear to ear. I couldn't help but smile back. Even though we were all super tired, none of us wanted to go to bed yet. So we said yes. The game started again. The dice were rolled. The pieces moved. And then, just like that, the phone lit up again. This time it said, "It's time for a new challenge." What challenge? We all looked at each other, confused. What was the challenge?